Hey, it's Mandy from Little Geek Lost and the podcast, and you're listening to this freaking show.
What's up, everybody? I am Travis here, and welcome to another episode of This Freakin' Show. It's a weekly podcast with a little bit of something and a whole lot of nothing. Same weekly podcast that is brought to you every single week by the Firepit Bar and Grill of Peotone, Illinois. If you're looking for a down-home country restaurant that offers you a burger and beer for just $7.99 every Monday and Wednesday, I know what you're thinking. Travesty, is there anything else that this bar offers other than just a burger and beer for $7.99 every Monday and Wednesday? You tell us that every single week. Well, yes, it is. Because on Tuesday, you can buy wings for 75 cents. On Thursday, you can go play bingo for free. Going there on the weekends. They got bands that play pretty much every single weekend. Happy hours there, too. Check it out. Go to Firepit Bar on Facebook. They'll tell you the times of happy hour. They'll tell you about their drink specials they have all the time, as well as all the events that they put forward. Check out the Firepit Bar and Grill, Peotone. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so out of breath right now because I am overly excited for the fact that we are still pushing along in Keto Month, February, of course. I'm at a loss for words. I literally have no words that could express how excited I am for all the feedback that we have been getting on this series, this keto series. So, yeah, just like the last couple of weeks, I'm not going to sit here and drag out the intro to this because I know the reason you guys are here is to learn more about keto. Again, I want to thank Jackie for taking the time out to do this. I know how busy her day is and her schedule is. And the fact that she took out the time to do this with me, it means the world to not only me as a podcaster, but to me personally, because me being on the keto diet, I learned so much. I'm excited to have the opportunity to sit down with somebody who has so much knowledge on this. And I'm hoping that you guys are learning something from this as well. And like I've mentioned before, too, if you have any questions about the keto diet or anything, even after listening to this, message me, get in touch with Jackie. Won't be a problem at all. So why don't we dive into the series and keep moving forward with Jackie?
So yes, you can come back after a cheat meal, and yes, you can make it easier.
Yeah, so I guess when it comes down to it, the easiest way to come back from it is just not get out of it at all.
Well, see, but then that way, like when you say it that way, it's like a black and white, but it makes it okay, I'll put it this way. I was strict ketogenic eating my entire first year. And although I had progress and roller coasters and setbacks because we all have events where we just fall off or we get, we just, at that point, we don't care and why not? Like, it's really hard to say I'm going to stay strict keto eating 24/7 all the time. We all have slip ups. We all have hormones. We all have stress. We all have feelings. We all slip up eventually, but the slip up doesn't have to snowball to be worse than it is. When you're reintroducing carbs into your diet, the more refined or processed carbs, you get that carb hangover feeling regardless with the bloatedness, the inflamedness, the headaches. And a lot of people who go keto who have that sugar addiction or carb addiction usually use that first stomach ache after a cheat meal as I don't ever want to do this again, or um, as a motivation to find an easier way to be able to cheat and come back. So it's about finding your balance of how you want to go about it, whether you want to be more strict keto and there's different ways to carb cycle with keto, whether you do it on weekends, if you do a target keto where you're only doing a small carb up of 20 to 30 carbs before your hard workout, or if you're doing protein up on training days to where you're only upping, a carb cycle, technically a carb overload of just protein Um, like there's different ways that oh, hello? There
Yeah,
it
I'm
goes.
still here.
There's just different ways, your body uses the muscles to break it down. So it just depends. Like carb and cheat days are another tool that you can use or work in. It just depends on what your goal is and what works for your lifestyle of how you can utilize it. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you no, you can't cheat because I cheat. I have to cheat once a month. Like for me, it's like my inner food demon is what I call her. Like in order for me to appreciate what I do for an entire month, that's why I also like super enjoy my cheat days and I'm more smarter about it too. Um, but after a cheat day too, like I said, once a month I do an extended fast. I actually line up my extended 60-hour fast right after my cheat days.
Oh,
That
wow.
way,
Okay.
um, you can do your intermittent fasting after a cheat day. It'll help a little bit speed it along, but I do like I said, it's usually a weekend a month where I don't count anything, I don't look at anything. If I'm feeling it and I want to taste it that weekend, then I do it. But I also use the ketones on those days. So it's not so much of an angry backlash on my body that I can get through it and enjoy it a little easier. But then, when we host and we help out with the 60-hour reboots, we're doing an aided 60-hour fast. I usually do right after. So the damage that I did to my body, if I did more than my ketones will allow me to pause, then I get to do a quick metabolic reset, further ketosis into that keto adaptation and coming out of that 60 hours after my carb overload. I come out of that fast in keto adaptation and making those ketone bodies already. So it's a super deep level of ketosis on the other side. So I don't sometimes I work out harder and I just do the regular. Sometimes I line it up with an extended fast where I don't have to work out. So it depends on how you want to pretty much like I said, if you want that carb meal, you got to work for it. So do you want to work for it through sweat and hard work or do you want to work through it through a fast and sort of detox it out that way? So there's other ways to sort of look at it and to harness the power of the glorious, delicious, tasty cheats. But then there's other ways too. I don't know. I know with my Pinterest board that I offer for my group, there's so many alternatives that there's other ways to make things that you might think like you find something that you're craving. There's a good chance that I can find something for you that's similar that you can make on your own or that you can get at the same place of your restaurant or whatever that's similar that isn't so bad. So it's a slightly smarter alternative that might hit a few cravings of your cheat meal by just swapping out a few ingredients. So then you think you have a cheat meal, it satisfies those urges, but it's not necessarily a black and white labeled cheat meal. So there's a way you can do that too, just swapping a little better. And then the ingredients that you don't swap that are super tasty or you just don't care at that point, you don't have to feel as guilty because you eased up on a few of the other areas.
I gotta say, you're a lot nicer about people who cheat than I am. Cause like, it's weird. Cause like, whenever like my friends like want like talk to me, I was like, hey, I think about doing the keto diet. I think about doing the keto diet. And I was like, yeah, no, awesome. I love it, and I fully support the idea of doing it. And you just it's just all about commitment and everything. But the problem is, like, from what I've noticed, and I'm not saying that anyone's a bad person for not doing it, but like when they have like their cheat day, like it's like their last day of keto. They don't really focus on. But that's the whole reason we're doing this interview, so people can understand the fact. I mean, even when you have that one bad day, it's a possibility to get back into it. You just got to use it. You just got to take, I guess, not calling it a negative, but a
Well, it's
negative
all
and turn it into a
mindset.
positive.
Right. It's all mindset and how you want to look at it.
Mhm. Yeah.
All we can really do, like when it comes to how you fuel your better, you want to live your life, um, when you're looking at something as a diet more than like a lifestyle, like I'm not badgering people's word of choice. I just want to say, like, that shows your goal of how you're using it. Like, all we can do is give you this tool, this tool, this tool, this tool. I know what I refer to a lot, people, whether you if you've been following me or not, I call it my better toolbox. I offer all of my experiences or different things or ways that can apply to you to build your better. What works over here for this person might not work over here, but you'll find something in that box that applies to your life. So if you're looking at something for short term, somebody using ketogenic for a short term is going to look at it more as a diet, going to look at it more as goal focus and a more quick result, more intense of an area. I've noticed talking with people, those that view it as a diet are more goal oriented, more strict when it comes to it, wants that validation now and a quicker result now, and isn't worried, usually doesn't have like a long term view with this relationship with ketogenic. Like, they just want to use it to get to a certain point and be done. Whereas there's people who utilize um, ketosis or want to do it long term, that they utilize other tools to cycle in to sort of make it work for them. So somebody that views it more as a lifestyle might indulge in the cheats, but they know what they're doing, or to them the word, like the other tools that they're using around that cheat, is whether their celebration for something or whether they use it just to, like, I use it for sanity. I have 3 kids. My husband is not keto. Um, they're more standard cravings. So you'll see, like, well, I know I've had a busy year, but the YouTube is coming back this year. We're gonna do more recipes, because a lot of people are curious how they think it's so hard to prep for keto. They think they're so worried, like afraid of using that word when it comes to their family. So if you don't tell them what it is, you just prep good whole food and see like what they choose. So sometimes, we prep, I make something and everybody eats it, or I add like a bread or a pasta alternative to it on the side because they've asked for it and that's what they want. Um, but yeah, it depends on how your lifestyle is and how you view it to want to build towards your better. So that's sort of like why I love talking about the power of ketosis, and I like bringing the keto awareness, because it's not just, well, this is keto, like it's one thing to pick up and apply. It's technically a whole box of different tools and quirks that you can take to try to add to your better, to sort of help build your better. It depends on your goal and what you want to harness and use it for.
Gotcha. I mean, I know, like when it comes to me and everything, I noticed that the biggest difference between doing keto now and doing keto last year was last year for 5 months, like I didn't do cheat days. I stuck to, eating what I believe I needed to eat. I didn't do net carb counts. I stuck strictly to just, I looked at a package, saw the carbs in it, and that's what my focus was. I stayed around 15 grams of carbs a day, which was pretty low starting out from what I'm now learning. For some reason, though, it worked.
It
Like
does. It's
doing,
like I said, it depends on how hard you want to work your body to get to that state.
yeah. Well, like
You
my
start out lower, you push through faster, you get into ketosis faster, yes, but you're also giving yourself that big deficient. You're creating a bigger energy deficient to get that result.
Yeah, I mean, and I had the biggest motivation in the world. I just didn't want to die at 29 years old. I was like, well, I was like, but that was the biggest thing. Is like, I had to find, I like everyone needs to find their reason to do something.
Mhm.
Whether you just want to do it for yourself because you want to look good or you want to feel better and everything. My biggest thing when it came down to like deciding on doing the keto diet was like, one day I want to be a dad. I think I'd be pretty good at it. Um, and the biggest thing is like being 29 years old and still not having a child. Eventually, when my child's old enough to want to run around a park and have fun and everything. I'm gonna be in like my mid 30s, probably closer to late 30s and stuff like that. And I don't want to be, a 450 pound, mid 30-year-old guy who can't play with their child. I don't want to take my kid to a park and while they're sitting there playing on the swings or want me to push them and everything, I can't do it because I just don't have the energy to do it and stuff. So it's like it's a lot of my motivation for dieting was everything that I wanted in the future, and I think that's one of the biggest things when it comes to it. It's like I mentioned earlier in the show, and you kind of brought it up a couple times too. A lot of it's a mental thing. Like you have to want it and actually believe in doing it. Like I mean, keto is all based on you know monitoring what you're eating and all this and everything else. But you have to have your heart into it, or else you're not going to succeed in it. And as harsh as it is to say that, I mean, it's the truth, and that's why I tell a lot of my friends is like, if you really don't believe that you're capable of doing it, you really need to, focus a lot better than what you're trying to do. Like, it's not something
Right.
that
Or it's more like you have to be more, instead of just applying like just the basic principles and just going with it, it actually you have to approach it as utilizing it to sort of understand your body and what you're going through. Once you understand the process and you get to that point, it just all starts to click to where you realize, okay, I might not have to be as strict because I'm starting to feel, because when you hit in ketosis, you feel it. You have that mental clarity, your inflammation's down, you're thinking faster, you're sleeping better. Like you have, you may or may not have that random keto breath. We all talk about it and we randomly get, but you can tell when you're in ketosis more, you're not feeling deprived, you're feeling hydrated, you're feeling light, you're feeling energized. Like when we talk about the biohacking to get you, like when you're in ketosis and we talk about, I talk about it and I joke about it, like being in my ninja mode, like it just puts me laser focused. I have this ninja energy. Like you feel like you can take on the world like you're a literal superhero walking around with your own theme song. That's how you know if you're in ketosis. And when you're in that feeling, you feel like anything's possible, but you also understand that there's different levels of that feeling that you can control too with how you eat and how you fuel. So when you notice, well, I can start off like I'm thinking clear here, maybe, I can eat a little bit more of this today, or I won't work out as harder today.
Mhm.
Um, Sort of have to find your balance. Like I preach all the time, the beauty is in the balance. It's not, you shouldn't be looking at the battle with yourself and looking at it as you have to do this to achieve something. The beauty of ketosis and what I've learned of ketosis and being in whatever this whole magical ninja state of living and cycling in and out of and being smarter with is the beauty in that balance. You finally get that balance of understanding what your body's going through on a deeper level that most people who, no offense on sugar burners, I love you guys, I'm cycled sugar burner, so this applies to me too. But when we're so bogged down with those excess sugars and those carbs, we don't think clearly. Our brain is so busy firing to try to burn off the little bit of glucose it can at a time that you really don't get to optimize your whole mental capability or your mental performance. When you're operating in that ketosis level, you really unlock that superhuman living to where the neurons, you're healing the neurons between your brains. It's firing faster. Like you're thinking of stuff that you didn't even think you knew existed or that you retained in your little Britannica encyclopedia of your superhero ninja brain versus the old tired run-down self all the time of just trying to make it between peak and valley of caffeine overdose or sugar hit. You sort of learn to hit that level to where you ride that balance of those feelings and sort of you find your flow with it more than forcing a strict, instead of getting, when it comes to ketosis, instead of like doing A, B, C, D to finally get that aha feeling,
Mhm.
like we go through so much work to finally get to that feeling. of feeling good about ourselves and having it all together, but it takes so much time and energy to get to that point. Whereas if you can biohack your system into that feeling first with ketosis, everything else follows in suit after. Like it feels like you're flipping the roles a bit. Instead of chasing these random routines or these lists or these timed out spaced diets and doing A, B, C, D to maybe finally one day get to this feeling to where it finally works. You get to this feeling first, then you have this extra time on your hands. Like you have the time to step back and see the full frame of everything versus being so run down on the now and tunnel focused on doing this right, doing this right. When you take that out, you get to see the whole picture at once and have that feeling of feeling awesome, like your ninja feeling. You're feeling amazing and you have this extra space now. You actually can think through and see how you want to attack things after that feeling. So you're feeling great, good. Do I want to work out today or do I just want to put this energy towards organization or some other productive area of my life or work? Anything. It doesn't always have to be about nutrition and fitness. You know, when we're feeling good, that snowballs over into so many other areas besides what we're eating and how we're working our body.
I gotcha. Well, I love the fact that you keep saying that you have like this ninja in you. But for the ones that don't really have that in them, obviously it looks like one of the other questions we do have here is it talks about the keto test strips.
Okay.
Um, now I know like I've seen mentions of like how they don't really work, how they actually do work, and stuff like that. So I guess in okay, so I guess explain what the test strips are, how they work, and I guess in your opinion, how accurate are they?
Okay. All right. So when you're testing for ketosis, pretty much um, all your testing is it depends on the area that you're testing, but what you're testing for ketones, you pretty much want to prove to yourself and have that immediate validation that I did something and this ketone is showing up somewhere in my body. So, in order to test for that, you have the blood testing or you have the urine testing, which we can get into both. Um, the urine strips, which most people go to because they're more fairly inexpensive, um, they check the ketone bodies in your urine. Um, with these, though, the only thing that the urine ones test, which is when people, this is where people get confused. When you're testing with the urine strips, they only thing that they're telling you is if you have the acetoacetate ketones spilling over into your urine at that specific moment in time that you just tested. Um, the problem with this one that a lot of people don't realize, if you're not testing at the same exact time every day, ingesting the same amount of water every day, your hydration level when it comes to your urine and testing is a factor to take in. So, you know, um, this one fluctuates with time and your hydration and etc. So if you're not doing testing your urine, um, when you test your urine, though, if you're using test strips for the urine, you want to wait. You don't want to do it immediately when you wake up because, again, being dehydrated is going to affect it too. You're going to want to give it like a few good hours after waking up to do your urine strips. Or if you can't do it then, just make sure you're testing at the same amount, at the same time every day, just so you have that, you sort of take that factor out of it. But these ketones that you're testing in your urine aren't the actual ketone bodies. They're just the ketones that your body dumps um, when it builds up past a certain level in your kidneys. So when it comes to urine testing, people miscommunicate a little bit because some people get a darker reading, some people will get a lighter reading. The more ketones that are testing in that strip, the darker it's going to be. When you're in transition, you're going to have you might have a lighter reading. There might be, it's not going to be a none, but it's going to be tan. That just means that your body is absorbing more of the ketones than it's excreting. Your urine only tests the excess ketones that your body's excreting. And that's if all the other factors of testing are the same. You're doing it at the same time, you're the same hydration level. It's a way to test for a form of ketosis, but like you said, it's not the most accurate or consistent because it all depends on the control you have when you're testing yourself. If you're not doing it at the same time every day, if you're taking them randomly, if you're not hydrated, it's just going to throw those off a little bit. Um, the most accurate way to test is with the blood test. Using a blood ketone meter is the most accurate. Um, With these, you get an instant reading. It tests the blood directly. What they call the keto zone. That's how you tell you if you're in ketosis or not, is if the amount of ketones hits a keto zone, or which is usually like a zero point 0.5 to 5.0 milliliters, which is a big gap if you think about it. So as long as when you test through the blood strips, if you're hitting anywhere between that amount, your body's in a natural state of ketosis. Um, that's what I like about the blood meters, and only for a fact that um, they actually measure the relative ketone bodies, which are the beta hydroxybutyrate ketones, which are the ones that your body's creating, the one that's being released directly into your bloodstream. Um, they're the It's going to measure that ketone concentration directly from the bloodstream, which is the amount that your brain um, hasn't used yet. So it's the actual energy burning ketone bodies are the ones that you measure in your blood.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said before, you can still test a form of ketosis in your urine, but you have to know what you're testing for and just be a little smarter when you're testing for it. Um, oh yes, the test gets lighter. Once you get fat adapted, though, that's what I mean by with a urine test strip. Um, Once you get fat adapted, you're not excreting a lot of excess ketones. Your body's using them for energy. You're using the fat for fuel. So the ketone bodies are being absorbed and used by the brain. So if you get a lower ketone reading and you feel iffy about it, then I would suggest doing the blood test, because the blood test is going to be accurate and give you an exact number. When it comes to keto testing, though, let me just say this: people get obsessed with drug testing themselves for carbs, okay? Which is exciting, okay? Because you want that immediate validation. I know that sounded weird, but it feels weird to drug test yourself to see if you test positive for carbs or not. But that's pretty much what keto testing is, and what you're testing for. You want to see if your body is burning. You want to try to hit that fat burning mode, and you want to see it physically. For those that aren't feeling it yet, it's a way to validate you're doing everything right. But you only test, like I said, I'm like 2 or 3 years into keto living, so I don't track all the time. I don't test all the time. You really only test that first month or so, or like when you're going off of a cheat meal. Like when you're going through that transition process is really only when you actually need to test or
Mm-hmm.
feel the need to test. That's usually when people are more confused about what they're doing and want that validation. They just can't see on the outside yet. So it's sort of a way to take the inside reading and show it to you. But the more long term you are with keto leaving, like you don't check as often. Um, you just have that zany energy. Like I said, you just feel the benefits. So you kind of know you're in ketosis when you're feeling amazing, your mental clarity, the brain fog, you're not deprived, you actually feel sustained on less. Like you just kind of know after a while, but usually only test in those situations.
We are getting close to the finish line here, ladies and gentlemen. I could feel it. Part 3 of 4 is now listened to by you. Congratulations, you have listened to part 3. Make sure you tune in next week for the final part of the part 4 series on keto diets. Keto diets. There we go. I don't know how a diet it is. But if it doesn't exist, I just created that. I'm going to look into creating a meaning for that. Diets. I'm going to make that note. So, of course, let me close out the episode with what I'm freaking thinking. And, the only thing I'm thinking about right now is baseball season. It is coming up. Huge Sox fan. Chicago fan in general. I do root for the Cubs from time to time, but more or less, I am definitely a diehard Sox fan. They're going to start spring training here in a couple weeks, so I'm really excited for that. Trying to figure out, what's going on with the Manny Machado and Bryce Harper rumors and stuff like that. In my opinion, I don't care if we get either of them at this point, because we need to focus on rebuilding and not spending money on this stuff, because we don't know what they're going to be like when they start with us. There's been a history, a past. Jim Thome, the exception, of course, my opinion. But every time we hire or sign or we receive a big name person, they don't really live up to the hype when they come here. So I want to work with the farm system. I want to rebuild from that point. So that's my opinion on it. I don't care if we get Harper or Machado. Yeah, it'll be great to get the fans there to see those guys. Personally, I'd rather take Harper over Machado, because I think a left-handed power hitter, would definitely benefit us a lot more. Just my view, just my opinion and everything. Make sure you do follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at This Freakin' Show. Make sure you tell your friends about us. We are on iTunes, Podbean, Google Play, and Stitcher. Also Spotify. Can't forget Spotify. We're everywhere. You can just Google us, This Freakin' Show. You will be able to find us. I promise you. And if you can't find us, you probably put a G at the end of freaking, and you spelled it wrong. Freakin, no G. This Freakin' Show. On social media, all over platforms where podcasts can be listened to. So make sure you check us out. Tell your friends about us when you are listening to the show. If you could do me a huge, huge favor, it'll help me out. Wherever you go to listen to my podcast, give me a 5-star rating and give me a review. It helps me out. It pushes me forward in the podcasting community, as I'm trying to do. Trying to do it for both podcasts here and a JFW podcast. If you don't know about that, I also co-host a JFW podcast, Just Freakin' Wrestling. I do that with Dizzle J. That show gets released every week too. If you're a fan of wrestling, make sure you check that out too. You can find that. Podbean, Google Play, iTunes, Spotify. Not Stitcher. Not on Stitcher with that one, but that's okay. We don't need to be on Stitcher with that one. Social media too, JFW Podcast. I am everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. So much social media. Also, if you've been following me on Facebook at This Freakin' Show, you have known that you have seen that I have been plugging away on all these amazing cosplayers that were part of the cosplaying series. With the exception of Oh My Sophie, I do support her work, even though she hasn't been on the show yet, but I'm working really hard to get her to be part of This Freaking Show. Trying to figure it out, trying to get scheduling all worked out so we can get her on the show to get part of that series, because believe it or not, that series is still going forward. So hopefully we can see how that works out in the future here. So make sure you follow us on social media. Make sure you listen to our show every single week. Click the notification on Google Play and iTunes and stuff, so you know once this show drops, it's there for you. As always, I am Travesty, and thank you for listening to another episode of This Freaking Show. I'm out.